between religion and academia. And usually spaces were overlapped for both purposes. So you'd have sermons in a room and then you'd have a lecture. But this is the first time we see a separation between the two. And this building was founded in 1424, and it took around 60 years to complete.
1424.
Here, exclusively, they did lectures and exams. Exams back then were quite different, so they were oral in Latin and they could last up to 3 days, which is awful and no longer the case.
All exams in Latin.
This room has also been
3
used
days.
for Harry Potter. That's why it's quite popular. So there's the scene where Harry has broken his bones after playing Quidditch and he's in the infirmary and has to drink that disgusting potion. That's in there. And it's also where Professor McGonagall teaches the 4th years to dance for the Yule. So that's also. So it's quite famous for that reason. This building here, this is Convocation House, and this is where the University Parliament would meet to discuss the organisation.
2 tours here, by the way.
It was also used by Charles I when there was the Civil War in England, and so he would meet here with his generals to discuss military strategies. Later on,
Military
his son,
strategy,
Charles
there
II,
you are.
he would also use this room because there was the plague going on in London in 1665, and so to protect himself and his lords and MPs, he met them in here. So it's quite important historically speaking. Some of you have already commented on the maintenance of these buildings. They look like they're in a really good shape despite their age, and this has to do with some of the money the university has that goes destined
Very
for
costly.
maintenance of these historical buildings. But in 2008, the university started a fundraiser. It called it Oxford Thinking, and so they had projected to fundraise a total of 2.3 billion in 4 years. They actually passed this amount. They managed 2.5 billion.
Right.
So they thought, this is wonderful. Let's continue. So the next projected amount is 3 billion.
3
So
billion.
currently, the University of Oxford is the wealthiest university in England. It has an endowment of over 5 billion. Cambridge has 4.8 billion, but this is nothing compared to the wealthiest university in the world. Can anyone guess what that is? It's Harvard.
Harvard,
yes?
yeah.
Can someone give me a rough estimate?
50 billion?
Oh, that's too much, but it's 37 billion, a bit over. It's 37 point something.
Okay.
But yes, we don't talk about Harvard in Oxford. So we're going to head off to the Bridge of Sighs, which is one of the icons of the university. So please follow. The real club is here in Oxford, the Bullington Club. So some of you have heard of the Bullington Club, I imagine. It was a drinking club here in Oxford, and there's been quite a few drinking clubs. Initially they were for men, and the intentions or the aims were to drink and hunt. But with time, they evolved to be quite different. So the Bullington Club is the most infamous of these clubs. To be a member, you had to have 2 requirements. One was to be from a very well-known aristocratic family, and the other one was to be filthy rich. So how did you know that you qualified to be a member of this club? Well, one day you'd go to your college dorm, and it would be a mess. So the bed lifted, things on the floor, and there would be someone there waiting for you with a tin of Coleman's powdered mustard, and you would have to eat that. So you would eat it up, and at the end you'd be officially a member of the Bullington Club. So what does it mean to be a member of the Bullington Club? Well, first of all, you would have to buy a really expensive jacket worth over £3,000, and you would have to go to social events with the other members. So you would go to the most expensive restaurants, order the most expensive food, the most expensive wine, and when you finished, you would proceed to trash the place.
Oh no,
So lift tables, break plates, paint
Oh dear.
walls, and you would cause around £5,000 worth of damage to the restaurant. And when you left, you would leave a £10,000 tip. So understandably, it's not very popular anymore. There was a massive scandal when it came out what they did. This is only one of the things. I'll let you Google the rest. But former members of this club include David Cameron, who is former Prime Minister, and Boris Johnson. So there you go. So as to the Bridge of Sighs itself, this is a much later edition. It's from 1913, and it takes its name because there's the original one that's in Venice. But there's also one in Cambridge, and you know, whatever Cambridge does, Oxford has to do and better. So the one in Cambridge makes sense. It's over a canal. They were wondering, where should we put ours? They were thinking, where should we put it? Where should we put it? Over the road. Perfect. Left it there. So there's 5 in total. There's
5 in the
one in
world.
Venice, Cambridge, Oxford, Copenhagen, and Las Vegas.
Copenhagen, Las Vegas, there we are.
So if you see those 2 buildings, there's the red brick building and the white one, and there's a little passage there. So that leads to the Turf Tavern. This is a very well-known pub here in Oxford, and it's known for mainly 2 events. So Bob Hawke, who was former Prime Minister of Australia, passed away last June. He broke the record there for drinking a yard of ale in 11 seconds. So for those that don't know, a yard of ale, it's about this much.
Quite a lot.
It's also in the Turf Tavern where Bill Clinton smoked, but not inhaled, as he claimed, marijuana. So, just we in Footprints have a tradition. We take a picture of visitors and the speakers under the Bridge of Sighs. So,
Right, so photograph
if
time.
you wouldn't mind just joining under there.
Bodleian Library.
So this is the Bodleian Library, as I said, and it's the oldest library of the university. It was founded in the year 1602, and it was founded by a man called Thomas Bodley. So they're going back to this change from Catholicism to Protestantism with Henry VIII. You have to think that it was quite a traumatic change for the people at the time. Back then everyone was very religious, and they had been told all their lives that Catholicism was the only way to go to heaven, and suddenly, no, it's this new religion. By the way, Henry VIII is the new head of this religion. So it was quite a sudden change, and it was especially noticed in the universities, where there was this link between religion and academia. Actually, here in Oxford, many books were burnt simply because they had the wrong theology. So what's a university without books? Well, it's quite a big problem. And so it's said that Thomas Bodley arguably is the person that saved the university, because in 1610 he managed to get this library copyright status. So this means that any book that is published in England, a free copy goes to this library. So that's why they have their amazing collection.
Right.
So it's not a boring library, you can't take out any books, you can only read them inside. And when you go in there for the first time as a student, you have to sign a paper promising that you will not bring any kindle, fire or flame that may damage the books. Some of the oldest collections that they have in there, well, they have some of the original Shakespeare manuscripts. They've also got one of the original Gutenberg Bible prints, and they've also got the original manuscript of Wind in the Willows. So that's all in this library. And they've also got copyright rights to Wind in the Willows. So this library also has another section. This is called the Duke Humphrey Library. And again, Harry Potter reference. But if you've seen Harry Potter, all the restricted library scenes were filmed in there. And it is in fact restricted. So not all students can go in there. You have to have in your student card a code saying that you're studying something to do with all the books. And also you can't go in with a bag. You can only go in with a transparent plastic bag, with your computer in there, paper, pencil, no ink that may damage the books. And there's a security guard there that will check and is very finicky about everything. So, yes, so they guard their books really, really well. So that person there, that is not Thomas Bodley, that's the Earl of Pembroke, and he's the founder of Pembroke College here in Oxford. He was a very good friend of William Shakespeare, and William Shakespeare at some point wrote that he is the most beautiful man alive in England. So please feast your eyes. I really doubt it, but love is blind. So up there we have James I, who was the king at the time of the foundation of this library. So everyone is ready to go towards Radcliffe Camera, which is another of the big icons of Oxford. This is the Radcliffe Camera, and this building was founded in the year 1748. It was founded by John Radcliffe, and John Radcliffe, he had been a student here in Oxford, and he later on became a very well-known physician. So he successfully treated the king at the time, William III, and if you successfully treat the king, well, you become a very popular doctor. So he managed to amass a lot of wealth, and when he died, he donated in his will £40,000 for the construction of this reading room. So it's actually a reading room. A lot of people, when they come to Oxford, they think, oh, this is definitely the centre of everything, this is where everything happens. But actually, as I said, it's a reading room. We students just use it to study. It's really boring, really quiet, and generally speaking, nothing much happens here. Something that you might see at some point, especially graduation, is students here posing for pictures. And also another strange thing that you might see is, especially during the months of June and July, is students here posing for pictures but covered in bins. So this is called trashing, and this is another tradition from the university.
American slang.
And it consists in, when you're doing your exams, you are obliged to wear your uniform, but on the last exam you can ask your friends to trash you. So they will wait for you outside of examination schools, and when you go out they will just throw things at you. So they will throw confetti, shaving foam, flour, eggs,
alcohol.
Whatever. You look disgusting, you probably feel disgusting, you obviously sleep deprived, and you will come here and take some pictures and pose, and it's a kind of celebration because you've survived exams and, you know, well done for that.
Yeah.
So that's something that you might see. Another thing that happens quite often is that this building is used for filming. So there's a very well-known series, TV series called Inspector Morse and Inspector Lewis, and they have filmed all around Oxford. But also more recently, the Oxford Murders with Elijah Woods. I'm not going to do any spoilers, but a lot happens in this building. And actually, does anyone know about the Golden Compass? Yes? Okay, so they're doing a series now, and they've been filming all around Oxford this summer. So yeah, that's something else that you might see. So now we're going to head off and we're going to see All Souls College, which is the most exclusive college in Oxford. It has no students, only fellows. So I'll talk a bit more when we get there.
All Souls College, there are no students here.
First of all, to apply to do the entrance exam, you have to be a graduate of the University of Oxford. So either have graduated as an undergrad or as a postgrad. And you have to do the exam within 3 years of that event. If you wait a bit longer, you're no longer qualified to do the exam. The exam itself has been described as the world's most difficult exam.
Right.
So it's changed over the past 10 months, but typically half of it was questions on your speciality, and the other half would be a blank page with one word. And this could be anything. It could be water, coconut, sadness, and you would have to write a 3-hour-long essay talking about the physical properties, the chemical properties, philosophical implications of a coconut, all the while, you know, making sense. After that, you'll also have a series of interviews, and at the end, the rest of the fellows will meet. They'll discuss the evidence they have against you and decide whether or not you are worthy of being a member. So why would anyone go through this torture? Well, the benefits are tremendous. First of all, if you get accepted, you become automatically a fellow, and you become a member of this college for 7 years, during which time your food and your accommodation is taken care of by the college. You also have a yearly research grant to do research on whatever you want. So there's no limitations on the fee. To top that off, you also don't have to give any lectures, which is something that a lot of researchers don't like. So this is considered the holy grail of academia. If you get in here, you're done.
How many
You made
fellows
it.
are there?
So there's not that many. I think there's like around 30 or something like that.
Yes, very exclusive.
Yeah, it is very exclusive.
30 times 7 or 30 divided by 7?
Sorry, it's just 30 in total.
Alright, so for 7 years.
Oh yeah, there's currently 30, so I don't know. Because sometimes they don't accept anyone. So,
So it could be an average of 3.8.
yes, exactly. And yeah, actually, and they have, so it's not the wealthiest college, but in terms of money per member, I mean, it definitely is the wealthiest in that sense, because it can, it provides a lot to the members. One of the most famous members, former members of this college, is T. Lawrence of Arabia. And as you all know, he did a lot of incredible things during his lifetime. But just to give you an idea on the level of privilege that is considered to be a member of this college, when he died, his mother had engraved on his tombstone, "Here lies T. Lawrence, a fellow of All Souls." So never mind going to the desert and fighting. No. She thought this was the thing worth mentioning. Also in this college takes place a very strange tradition. It's called the mallard duck ceremony. So in the 15th century, when they were digging up the foundations of this college, a mallard duck flew out, and it's a really common duck. But since then, they have had this
Mallard
tradition.
duck.
So it consists in one of the fellows being named for the day Lord Mallard, and after having wined and dined, Lord Mallard gets up and starts singing the Mallard Duck Song. And the rest of the fellows will follow in this Mallard Duck Song. And they will start a procession. They will go everywhere, on the launch, on the walls, in the library, everywhere, singing the Mallard Duck Song. And at the end of this song, Lord Mallard sits on a chair, the rest of the fellows lift this person up, and they produce a stick with what used to be at the end a dead duck. 2001 was the last ceremony, a wooden one, and this is the Mallard Duck ceremony. And yes, these are in fact the most intelligent people we have in Oxford. So yes.
Good.
So if you look over here as well, this is the University of St Mary's Church.
St Mary's
There's a
Church.
church here, Saxon Place.
Saxon
The
Church.
one that you can see is the tower. That's from 1270.
1270, there was the tower.
This church is no longer part of the university. It used to be, that's why it has university in its name, but now it's an independent church. It's quite famous historically though, because I said at the beginning of the tour that the Archbishop Cranmer had been burnt alive there, but before being taken there he was brought to this church to read essentially what was a prepared script saying that he had been wrong, that Protestantism was the way to go to hell and Catholicism was the only way to go to heaven. And in the middle of the speech he stopped and said, "No, this is a lie, I'm a Protestant and I will always be a Protestant." So it's quite famous historically for England in that sense. So now we're going to go and visit the door that inspired the Chronicles of Narnia. The colleges are no longer free, so everyone must be in a college, including professors. But you don't have your lectures there. It's really being like a member of a club, forcefully so. But yes, you are a member of the club, so that's essentially it.
And where are the lectures? Are they dispersed in different
So
colleges?
yeah, so the not in colleges. So the colleges do not have lectures. The schools are kind of dispersed a bit, but most of them are in South Parks Road. So that's a lot of the social sciences are there. But yeah, they're dispersed around the city.
You have technical classes,
Technical.
engineering.
Yes, there is engineering. There's computer science. Yeah, there's all this. Those are in different places. So computer science will be more north towards Summertown. But yeah, it's all over the place. But really, the colleges, everyone when they come here, they think, oh, the colleges. What do I do? I want to study this. It really doesn't matter. In my course, we are 5 people, and we're all in different colleges, and there's nobody has a better. I mean, sorry, nobody's like better off in one college or another. You see what I mean? We all have the same access to everything, the academic. I mean, then to parties and things, that's a different thing. But yeah.
Do you get to choose your college?
So there are different ways you can get into a college. So one is that you say you don't care, and that's what I did because I didn't know about the colleges mostly. And then you receive an offer, and the other one is that you do care, you send an additional application. But this has a bit of might have a bit of a problem because let's say you want to get into Trinity College, so you write a letter saying, I've always wanted to be in Trinity because it's lovely, blah 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 blah. That's great if they accept you, but they might not accept you for whatever reason. That year they have accepted too many students, and so what happens to your letter is that it will go automatically to the next college, and this can be any college. It could be Balliol College, and the first thing they'll read from your letter is, I've always wanted to be in Trinity because it's lovely, blah, 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 blah. So your chances may go down. However, I have never heard of anyone getting into the academic bit, which is the hard bit, that's the one where matters, and not getting into a college. So you have to have said no to all of the colleges.
So if your mother or father did you have an advantage to getting into that college?
No.
No.
They used to be, but not anymore. That's not an advantage.
Sounds like favouritism, Ralph, doesn't it? We wouldn't be allowed to do that, not in this country.
Well, yeah, at some point I think it was quite common, but now it's just, no, you don't have advantages for that. Yeah, you're only they only look at the information that you provide them. So I will talk more in depth later on about the application process, but yeah, it's only the academics and how good you are in that sense. Perfect.
Narnia then. Chronicles of Narnia.
So I introduce you to Aslan, there on the door.
Oh, there we are.
There. So C.S. Lewis, the writer
C.S.
of
Lewis.
Narnia, he was a student here at Oxford, and he would often go to church and come out these doors, and the first thing he'd see is this. So this is where his inspiration came from. He was also friends with Tolkien, the writer of The Lord of the Rings, and they were part of this literary club called the Evenings, and they would meet once a week in the pub, usually the Eagle and Child, and they would exchange literary ideas. Tolkien, he was quite a private man regarding his work, and at some point he gave this book to C.S. Lewis to read and give feedback. And C.S. Lewis loved it. He said, it's wonderful, you should publish it, and he did eventually, and it became what we now know as The Hobbit. It was a relatively good success, but when he published The Lord of the Rings, that was an even greater success. And during the 60s, when there was this flower power movement in the US, a lot of people were taking things, that made them see things. And so they would read Tolkien's books that talked about mythical creatures and distant lands, and they would get a bit overexcited. So they would look up Tolkien's number in the phone book and be like, what time is it in the UK? 3 a.m. Perfect. And just ring him constantly in the middle of the night. It got to a point that he actually had to take out all the phone lines from his house. And when that didn't work, they actually flew to Oxford and they would look in the window while he was eating with his wife. So he would have to eat with his curtains closed. And when that didn't work, they even went as far as camping on his garden.
Interrupted
so
dinner.
He got to a point that he said enough is enough, and he moved out of Oxford, and he only returned when he was offered a place as a fellow in English literature. So Tolkien had studied Welsh, Finnish, and English, and this helped him develop all the languages that you see in his books that are actually incredibly complex. But I have a question. I imagine many of you have seen or read The Lord of the Rings, right? Okay. Do you remember this character that's called Treebeard? That's a tree that walks and talks, but it's and it's really slow. Right. So Lewis Carroll, the writer of Alice in Wonderland, he was in Oxford, and he was actually
Lewis
Tolkien's
Carroll.
professor.
No.
And at the time, he was said that he was a really old man, and he had a really long white beard, moved really slow, spoke even slower, and would often fall asleep mid-sentence. So that's where that character comes from. Final question, and that's for the two Narnia people, I'm sorry. But what is the first thing the children see as they go through the wardrobe into Narnia? A lot of pressure. So there's snow, yes, but there's something there in the middle.
Tree.
No, there's trees. There's a lamppost.
I've seen it for
yes.
years.
So there's the lamppost.
All right. Oh yes.
Right.
There's a lamppost there.
Right, so now we're going to head off and see Oriel College. This is one of the most controversial colleges. So it's the first thing up there that you see is
Oriel
Cecil
College.
Rhodes. So some of you may have heard of
Cecil Rhodes.
He was one of the most important colonialists in the British Empire. Rhodesia, where Zimbabwe is now, was named after him. And he also founded the Mears Mining Company, which is famous for diamond extraction. So he was a student here in Oxford, and he wasn't a very good academic. So he tried to get into university college, they wouldn't accept him, and so it said that at the time Oriel accepted all the failures. So he managed to get into Oriel, and it took him around 8 years to complete his degree. But that's also because he kept coming back and forth from Africa to Oxford. So he amassed an enormous amount of wealth, and a lot of this money went to Oriel College, to the university, but also to the Rhodes Scholarships, which are very prestigious scholarships and are still present today. Initially though, there were some requirements as to who could apply to these. Cecil Rhodes had made it clear that it could only be a white male man from Germany, the British Empire, or the US. And this is because he believed that, well, these were the great potencies at the time, and he believed that somehow his scholarship would prevent confrontation between them. But he was very, very wrong, because later on the First World War happened. So yes. More recently, this statue itself has been the center of controversy because a lot of students were protesting, saying that it should be taken away, because if you look, he's above popes and kings, and many were saying, well, this is glorifying a person that in life was not a very good, human being. However, it's still under debate, because other people say, well, we shouldn't eliminate history, we should learn from our mistakes.
Yeah.
And yes, so it's still under debate. Oriel College is also famous for another controversial event, and it's that it was one of the last colleges in allow co-education, so mixed women and men. And this was in 1986. And this was 23 votes in favour, 4 against.
Okay, thanks, Jesus.
I did say that before the 70s, women were allowed in 4 colleges, but they had some requirements. So first of all, they couldn't wear the subfus, the uniform. They couldn't use the main libraries because it was said that they would distract the men. And when they graduated, they wouldn't graduate with a degree, they would graduate with a certificate. In fact, it was quite early on when they were discussing on whether or not to allow women in Oxford, and that was in the 1920s. And in the Oxford Union, which is a very famous debating club here in Oxford, it's actually written that an academic said, I'm just going to wait. Sorry, my voice is not that done. We've managed to survive these 2 hours. And this here is Merton College. So Merton College is the oldest college in Oxford. It was founded in the year 1264. Before I said that Balliol was 1263, and there's actually a more older one called University College, and that's from 1249. So why do I say that this is the oldest college? Well, this is the oldest college with the structure of colleges as we know them today. It's the first one to have its own statutes. This college, I did say that colleges don't have anything to do with the academics anymore, but every year there's a list that's called the Norrington list that the university publishes saying which colleges have done better academically, and for whatever reason Merton is always among the top 10. That's why it's also said that it's where the fun goes to die. There's also a very strange tradition here as well. So all students, every student has a right to choosing cake once a month. So, and they get to eat it. So they can choose whichever cake they want, chocolate, vanilla, whatever. And that's another tradition they have here. So usually I stop here and waking up, explain the application. Because it is quite, people think, oh, it must be really difficult. I mean, it depends. So if you're doing, if you want to do an undergrad or postgrad, it's different. So as an undergrad, I don't know, I haven't done it myself, but I can tell you what I know about it. So you have to send in your grades, a personal statement saying essentially why they should accept you, your reference letters from your professors, and you also, if you're from a foreign country, you have to show your level of English in a way, and you also have an interview. That's for undergrad. So then as a postgrad you have all this, but you don't have the interview, and you have to give a sample of your written work, so what you did as an undergrad. So you send all this. By the way, there's an application process, fee of £70, just so you know, and you send all this, and if you're lucky you get an email, a very pompous email saying that you've been accepted. And in fact it's so pompous I wasn't sure I had been accepted. But in this email they also say, okay, now you have to be in a college, and everyone must be in a college. So as I said, there's 2 ways. There's the one that you say you don't care and you get an offer, a letter, and the other one is with the other letter. But as I said, it's not important so much. And as to the fee themselves, well, if you are an undergrad, it's £9,000 per year, and here if you're from the EU or the UK. Now with Brexit, I don't know how it's going to change, but if you are from a foreign country, it's higher the amount of fees, although Americans always say so cheap. Whereas coming from Spain, I'm always like, is it? But and then as a postgrad, it's more, so it's like around £14,000 a year. A lot of people from the UK and the EU, what they do is they get a loan from the UK government, which they have to pay once they start earning £21,000 a year, and it has an interest rate. But yes, generally speaking, that's what people do. But yeah, that's mostly it. As to living in the colleges, well, some students choose to live in their college because basically it's more convenient. So you don't have to look for a room. If you arrive here for the first time, you have preference over everyone else, and the price is quite standard. So you get to live in the city centre in one of the colleges with a standard price. So it's added. But then also the reason why a lot of students eat at college is because it's heavily subsidized. So for example, in my college, 2 course meal is around £5, which is fun. And then St John's College, which is the wealthiest, is £2, which is even better.
Yeah, very cheap.
So yeah, that's why we all at college. But essentially that's it. Now, yes, so really I can't stress enough that the colleges, although they are really fancy and it's what everybody looks at and everybody thinks, oh, this is the important bit, it really isn't. It's more important that you work hard, you study, you get to a good academic level, and then you get accepted into the academic bit, and that's more important. The colleges don't matter so much.
When they say a first, someone has a first, what is it?
So it's the grades. So there's 1-1, which is the best grade. Then there's 2 first. That's quite good, and then there's 2-2. So that's the grading system.
So it's like everybody counts.
You can definitely, but the flunking rate is not high.
Yeah, that's
Because
so hard to get in.
it's so hard to get in. Like you really have to not care to not work. But then on another aspect, the level of people that give up in the middle is really high compared to other things. I don't know actually. It depends because it really depends on what you're studying. Some courses have like 300 students, like the MBAs. They're enormous. Mine has only 5 people. So it varies so much from what you're studying. If it's an undergrad or postgrad, it just varies so much.
You'd have to get certain mark percentage per piece of work. And also, so if you didn't, you probably wouldn't pass. And then the other thing is, if you haven't turned up to enough lectures or whatever, or handed in enough work, then obviously you wouldn't pass anyway. So there's definitely ways I've known from certain people not to bother to turn up for lectures and they end up not passing.
Yeah, so yeah, you should always go to
So when you're postgrad, is that a PhD?
So that's masters or PhD. Yeah. Well, mine is a 1-year masters. I finished. Sorry, I keep telling everyone. Thank you. But yeah, anyhow. So, do you have any more questions? No?
What college are you in?
I'm in Kellogg College. So you know Kellogg cereals?
All right.
So the family donated millions to the university, and that generally gets your name somewhere. So unfortunately, we don't get to have free cereal. That was quite disappointing when I got here. I really wanted that, but they said no.
Yeah, America's cereal sign.
Yeah. Well, but any more? No? Well, that's it really. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
For
Thank you.
on this tour. I hope you enjoyed it. But yeah. So if you have any questions on places to visit or anything else.
This is Oxford City Centre on the High Street here. We have a bright autumn day here in Oxford. Here we are in Oxford High Street. Looks at the examination schools here. Part of the university there. Oxford city centre. University and city tour there. Complete with all the customary bikes in the city.